Hey, good morning. I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today is a newsletter day, December newsletter 2025, our last newsletter of 2025, kind of though. On December 31st, I have another newsletter. That'll be our January leading into 2026 newsletter. But yeah, we have some news today. Nothing big for the next year, but I'll go over some of the stuff from the past year on my other screen. I'll share that in a few minutes. But right now, I just hope you are doing well, that you're having a great week so far. It's very snowy and cold here in St. Louis, but it's warm inside here. And so I'm wearing my new World of Wingspan shirt here. Yeah, I just hope you're doing well. Some topics for today that we're going to cover. We're going to talk a little bit about game design or game day, a little bit about game design as well. I have some questions involving houses and Instagram, and some recent posts about love languages and small box games or big games in small boxes, as well as some other non-gaming media that I've been enjoying recently. Let's jump in with that because that is a fairly low-key topic. Some stuff that we've been enjoying. We just started the show Pluribus last night. We watched the first episode, and I thought it was really, really interesting. It's by the creator of Breaking Bad. I guess I don't want to give anything away because I really did not know what to expect from the first episode, and I think it's fun to go into it not knowing. But there is a science fiction, like a science-based science fiction thing that happens in the first episode that caught me off guard. We watched Zootopia 2 on one of these snowy days. We went over to the theater and saw Zootopia 2 and thought it was charming, delightful, beautiful. Really, really good movie. We've also watched now the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things season 5, the final season, and wow, it ends on such like a big moment. I really, really enjoyed where Stranger Things ended this first part of season 5, and I've been completely enamored with, to the point that I've already completed it, the video game Dispatch, which is it is an animated superhero, I say show/game, because you're watching a lot of cutscenes, but you're making some story decisions in those cutscenes. And you are also playing 2 different mini games. There's a hacking mini game, and then the main mini game is you on the job dispatching superheroes to deal with different problems in the city. It's kind of an intense mini game that I really, really enjoyed, more so than I even expected. And for someone like me who doesn't do dexterity video gaming, like I that is not something that I'm good at, or really that I enjoy all that much. This was not that. This was real time, but it didn't involve any dexterity elements at all. I just sent different superheroes into battle based on what I thought they would be good at doing, and I had a blast at doing so. It's 8 different episodes that you play through. It's not family friendly. I would say definitely not little kid friendly. It's pretty intense. A lot of cursing, but I really loved it. Dispatch is a video game that I highly recommend if you have some downtime this cold winter season and just want something not cozy. I wouldn't call it cozy, but a really, really good video game. Garrett says, "I'm curious if you have heard any updates for the full digital implementation for Tapestry. Seems like it's been a bit since we've heard anything. Usually those developers, this particular developer team, I don't hear anything from them until occasionally they post on Board Game Geek with an update. So I only know what you know, unfortunately." Oh, Julie says that she's enjoying the speculative fiction element of Pluribus. I'm excited to dig into episode 2, hopefully tonight. Stuart says, "Do you have any snowy, wintry game recommendations?" That's a fun question, Stuart. Snowy, wintry game recommendations. Let me look at my shelf to see if I have any snowy or wintry games currently on my shelf. I don't think I do. No, not really. I guess Parks is maybe the closest game that I have to a snowy, wintry game. I do love the Everdell line of games, but I haven't played Silver Frost. That's, I think, their wintry one. Yeah, I'll put that question out there, though. I'm sure I'm missing some pretty obvious snowy, wintry, icy games, but maybe with a cozy feel to them. Anyone's welcome to share their recommendations in the comments. Dead of Winter, there we go. G-Money suggests Dead of Winter. That's a good one. And there's a Carcassonne Winter Edition. That's another good pick for it. And Jack Mock. Yeah, I'm still looking to try this one sometime. I think you have recommended this a few times. I'm looking forward to trying that in the future. And Noon Attack, there we go. There's a good icy, creating like an icy ziggurat. That's a good one, Jeff. Snow Planner. So yeah, some good suggestions here in the comments for snowy, wintry game. The White Castle too. Yeah, it has a wintry vibe to it. We played, so I hosted a game day. There was a lot of snow on Saturday here in St. Louis, and it cleared enough for people to come over for a game day on Sunday. We had around 25 people here, which is more than we can technically fit in our little condo, but we made it work. And we played, or I played, The Gang, Fairy Ring, World Wonders, a 6-player game of Vantage, and separately on, and also Mysterium Park. And separately, a few days before that, I played the game Thiefdom, a new pick up and deliver heist game from the creators of Clans of Caledonia. I had fun with that. But yeah, a really, really fun game day, really crowded day, but it was fun to have a lot of people around. And I managed to burn not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 4 frozen pizzas in the oven. I think I had the oven just set a little bit too high for these pizzas, and all of them burned a little bit, but they were still all eaten. They were technically edible, so didn't burn it too much, I guess. Hilda says that Silver Frost is fantastic. Hilda, what's your take on the new Everdell game that's on Kickstarter right now? I'm intrigued by it because I like the idea of the upgrading cards, but I'm still like, I don't get Everdell to the table often enough, and it's on my shelf, so I'm hesitant to add another Everdell that I may not also get to the table often enough. Ice and Idols, that's a wintry one, yeah. Anthony is talking about how he's excited about Sanctuary. He played it a few times recently. That's great. Less time than Ark Nova with good vibes. Looking forward to How to Save a World game this month and the Bark Avenue expansion. I haven't played How to Save the World, but I have played Bark Avenue. It's delightful. Glitch Arcade says, my game day group has been bringing lots of newcomers to board games recently, which is awesome. I love welcoming new people into the hobby. What would you recommend showing them? That's a great question. I have some videos about this, but I think the number one thing is to ask them if they know. Well, don't ask them if they know anything. Ask them what types of themes they enjoy in general, like movie themes, book themes, TV show themes, and try to find a thematic pairing for them. And or start with, I don't know, honestly, I would start with some of the new cooperative games that are a little social, like So Clover, Just One. Start out with something like that and then ramp up into something a little bit more complex and probably not cooperative. But I like leading with a few cooperative games before you get into some of the more competitive games, or games that feel a little cooperative, like Ink and Gold isn't actually cooperative at all, but it feels like you're in it together. I think leading off with some of those games are a good way to start, in my opinion. But also, I think it's good to ask questions and see what people are interested in, whether they have had some exposure to modern gaming and they know they like something, and then you can recommend something based on that, or if they like a specific theme, you can go from there. Jeff says, coworkers and I are going to Sweet Art for lunch. Oh, I love Sweet Art, Jeff. I usually just get their standard fried chicken sandwich. This is a vegan fried chicken place. And Jeff, they have, in my opinion, I would say the best chocolate chip cookies in St. Louis. I think their chocolate chip cookies are excellent, and I'm amazed every time I eat one that it is a vegan chocolate chip cookie. I highly recommend getting more than one because I think you will want more than one if you go to Sweet Art. Hey, Ivan, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, World Wonders. So two of the games that were new to me this weekend that I played at the game day were World Wonders and Fairy Ring, and both of them, I had no idea what to expect, but I really, really enjoyed both. World Wonders is a polyomino game where you're placing mostly flat tiles, but every now and then you're placing a big chunky wonder. And it has just a really good set of mechanisms in it. It's one of those games where you're spending all of your money until you have no money left for the round. But with a little twist being that whenever you buy a wonder, you have to spend all the rest of your money, no matter how much it is. So I thought that was a really neat twist for adding some tension and timing to the wonder decision. And then Fairy Ring was a really, really neat twist on a drafting game where you're drafting cards, like in Seven Wonders, Sushi Go, but you were also moving a fairy around the table, around all the different cards that the players have played. So picture Seven Wonders, but where I have a token that I'm moving around the table onto all the stacks of cards that all players have played. And whenever I land on a stack or card type where I have that card type too, not only do I trigger it for the opponent because I've landed on their card, but I also trigger that card type for me, and I get to score based on that. So really, really neat twist on drafting in a lighter, family-friendly game in Fairy Ring. Really, really enjoyed that. Santa's Workshop. There we go, Garrett. That's a great holiday season wintry game. Santa's Workshop. I do delight in that one. Aaron recommends Wandering Towers for newcomers. Yeah, if anyone has recommendations for newcomers as well, for if you are welcoming new people into the hobby, I think this is a good question to ask all the time because I think it can evolve constantly with new games released that are welcoming in different ways. So yeah, feel free to throw out your suggestions there. Here we go. Diamond. That's the same as Ink and Gold, or very similar to Ink and Gold. So Clover, just one. Yeah. Red Stash Game says, what is your favorite component hook for a Stonemaier game and a non-Stonemaier game? Ooh, I'll think of maybe recent games for this one, or games that I've recently played at least, because there are many different games where I have different component hooks that I really, really love. Stonemaier games, let's see. Okay, I'll go with custom dice in Tokaido Duo. Tokaido Duo has a little dice draft that you do every round, and I really like the custom dice in any game, but I like the custom dice in Tokaido Duo. And then a non-Stonemaier games. Let's look at this list of games that I played this past weekend. I don't know if Fairy Ring did have. Okay, this is a tiny touch. This isn't like a standout on the table component hook, but Fairy Ring drafting game. And in most drafting games, you don't have a player mat that relates to the draft itself. But this game has a little player mat where it has a slot for the card that you pick, where you pick the card, you put it face down in that slot until it's your turn to play that card. And it also has a horizontal slot next to this player mat, incorporated into the player mat, for all the cards that you're passing to the next player. I thought that was a neat little thing. Like, it not necessary, but very helpful to organize those cards and remember, okay, this is the card that I'm actually drafting. These are the cards that I'm passing. Just a nice little component touch. Sometimes it's the little things that I think add up to a big difference in games. Jeff also says that he enjoys Fairy Ring, always having to shift plans as opponents play on their tableau. Yeah, it's a little difficult to predict exactly where your fairy is going to end up. So it encourages you to go with a diverse array of cards, so you trigger cards more often. But it also gives you do you consider like playing a card that gives you multiple movement options instead of the one movement option? Really good decision space there. Austin says, how has all the playtesting been going lately? Yeah, this is one thing I wanted to mention, not mention specific products, but I have a regular monthly playtest night with some other designer friends here in St. Louis. And we had one last night, and it was really delightful to see what some of my designer friends are working on and to get their opinions on something that I am working on as well. So that's going well. We also do playtesting. I playtest a lot with Megan because she's very open to that. I appreciate that. And playtest with my coworkers as well. Megan playtested something with me very recently. What was it? I'm forgetting what it was now. Megan playtested something last week that was really helpful. Oh yeah. A game that I'm working on. Hopefully it's going well for you too, Austin, with your clock game. Chris says, will there be any more Red Rising games? We have been working on something else in the Red Rising universe of games, Chris, but we haven't decided if we're going to make it or not yet. So sometimes we work on things to see if it's a good fit, if it will work for a series of games, a brand of games, or just a new game. But we don't announce it, I guess, until we know it's actually going to be a thing. And so I don't have any announcements there for you yet. Garrett mentions Fromage as a welcoming game for gamers. Worker placement, but you're limited to one section of the board per turn in a really clever way. It's also got a really quirky theme and a lot of variability. I would say that's a good level up game, Garrett, because there's a lot to understand about the different mini games, the 4 different mini games in it, and even just the interactions on your mat. I like the recommendation, but I don't think I would lead off with it. I would probably ramp up to that, would be my suggestion. For Fromage, yeah. I do love Let's Go to Japan, too. Valerie says it's the hardest part of playtesting that you can't actually talk about it. Yeah, we have so many playtesters at Stonemaier Games, both for multiplayer and solo, that are really, really good at not spoiling anything in advance. I really appreciate that. I know it's hard not to do that. And I appreciate the lead playtesters for doing that and the lead playtesters for emphasizing that confidentiality to the other playtesters they bring in for those playtests. Champion Faction says, heard about the indie games night market at PAX Unplugged from the Leader Games podcast. It was a great event. I know it's not an event for Stonemaier Games, but what do you think of it and how can it contribute to the hobby? So my understanding of the night market is that it was inspired by the Japanese market in the Tokyo Games market, where it's kind of little bespoke games, usually really small print runs of smaller bespoke games, which I think is great. I think that's great for creativity, that you can make something to sell in small batches at times. Without trying to make something for everyone or for a really, really big market. I think that is a great creative challenge to say, I want to make this game for 12 people. I want to make 12 copies of this game, not for the exclusive side of it, but because I think there are 12 people who would really enjoy this game. But I don't necessarily think there are 10,000 people who would really enjoy this game. I think that is really cool. I would say that's the main thing I had to say about it. I think it's neat for creativity. Jeff says, have you had any contact with Pierce about the last book? I do hear from Pierce, and I email with Pierce every now and then, but I don't ask him about the last book. I think authors probably get questions about the next book all the time, and I don't. As excited as I am for the next book, I don't want to be one of those people that's kind of like bugging them about it, because I think that can sometimes disrupt the creative process. I'm even cautious, and maybe I shouldn't be so cautious about this, but I'm even cautious to tell him, hey, I'm excited about the next book. But that should be okay. I think I'm like, when I think about my games, I'm fine with people saying, hey, I'm excited about your next game. I think it's different when someone says, I've waited so long for the next Wingspan expansion. That's because we're trying to make something awesome for you in the next Wingspan expansion. So yeah, I guess I just got to pick my words carefully for expressing my excitement about what is to come in the Red Rising universe. See a lot of suggestions here for winter games and games to welcome newcomers into the hobby. There's a bunch of them in the comments if you want to check them out. Austin says that he's doing a playtest this evening and he's gearing up for a blind playtesting. Yeah, that is something certainly to be nervous about, because the rule book has to be really, really good. And you're also playtesting the rulebook, so you know that it's not going to be perfect. Thanks, Austin, for saying that the rulebook writing tips have been helpful. I'm glad to hear that. Good luck with that process. So, here's another playtesting comment. Playtested the updates for a really great disc golf board game made by a local for the second time recently. It's looking really good. This one may come by your desk at some point in the near future. That's exciting. Yeah. I can't say that like games based on sports or something that I'm looking for as a publisher, or even as a gamer, honestly, because if I want to play disc golf, I'm going to go outside and play disc golf. I'm probably not going to try to distill it onto my tabletop. If I do, I'm probably going to go for a game of crokinole. But I love that you are having fun with it and that the designer is having fun with it too. Let me throw a question out there to you all. One of the questions of the day related to game design a little bit. So we love living where we are. We have a small condo in St. Louis, and it's a good size for us. It's probably the one room short of what would be ideal for Megan and I. And so just for fun, I have been on Zillow the last few months, just kind of looking at houses on the market, looking at different neighborhoods, different things that I might like in a house, a small house, because we definitely don't need a big house. But I found, independently of the house search process, but also tied to it, that it's a little bit like a game. Like when Zillow throws a new house in my inbox, I get excited about looking at the photos of the house, looking at the specs for the house. There's a little jolt of endorphins or dopamine or something that happens when I get to see it. Even though I'm not buying these houses, I'm not actively looking at most of them. It's just fun to see the options. And I'm wondering if there is a game there. Is there any game that you all can think of that has that feeling of looking for houses? Or I just wanted to see if anyone can relate to that aspect of looking for houses, even though you're not actually looking to move in the very near future. where the looking part of the process and seeing what shows up in your search results is the part that is fun. And what makes that fun? I'm trying to see if there is something there that could be a part of a game or could be a game. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who enjoys that process. Valerie mentions Ticket to Ride as an intro game. Yeah, I think that's a great idea for an intro game as well. Also, today is a newsletter day, so I need to talk about the newsletter a little bit here. I'll throw that up on my other screen and zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. Here we go. So this is the newsletter where I revealed the teaser answers for what I talked about in early or late 2024 about what was to come in 2025. One of them was what has wings but cannot fly, and this was referring to fish in fin span. Fish don't exactly have wings, but they have, they have body parts that are anatomically similar to wings. And flying fish do have wing-like, fins and whatnot that are very similar to wings. This was a tough one. What is both more and less? This was hinting at Between Two Castles, because the Essential Edition that we released in 2025 had more. It had all the stuff from the Between Two Castles series. It had the expansion in the core box as part of the core game, but it also cost less than the combination of the two products, and it has a shorter name than those two products independently. And last, what can you win, or when can you win by losing? And this was referring to Origin Story, a game where one of the things that you can decide to do in any given round is try to go nil, try to win no tricks, 0 tricks in the round. And so you can actually score 4 points as a villain if you declared yourself a villain and you ended up winning no tricks. So there most likely will not be riddles for 2026, because on December 31st, I'm just going to tease what's coming that year. And I'm not going to do it in riddle form. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we are making in 2026, or what we're planning to launch on our web store and get to you in 2026. So I'm not planning to share specific names or boxes. I'm just going to talk about what is coming but not in riddle form. I'm just going to say this is something that we've been working on, and we plan to have it at this time of year in 2026. Also in this newsletter, let's see what else we have. Okay, so I shared all the stuff that we released in 2025, a bunch of promos for Rolling Realms, promo birds for Wingspan, and then a bunch of games this year. Some new games like Vantage and Origin Story and Finspan. Those are our 3 new games. And then we had some newer versions of older games like Between Two Castles and Tokaido Duo and Tokaido, along with Smitten 2, kind of a new version of the original Smitten. But a lot of releases for us. We're going to slow it down a little bit in 2026 because this was a lot of stuff to release in one year. Here's the progress chart for this year. Recent releases are the bird promo packs, Tokaido Crossroads and Matsuri, Origin Story. And then coming up soon, we have the Wingspan expansion in late January. I'll start talking about that on December 31st, and then more in detail in January. Let me go back to your comments for a minute, and then we'll go over here and look at the annual survey and a few other things in today's newsletter. Let's see. Okay, see, I was talking about searching for houses. Garrett says, legacy games have this feeling of opening a new envelope or box can be really exciting, that discovery element of legacy games. Julio says that it sounds like a card river type of game where you get excited when a new card is added to the card river. Get to see what you might be able to do with that card. Board Game Eric mentions the exit advent calendar. We have a chocolate advent calendar. In fact, I would say my chocolate of the day is Tony's chocolate, because we have a Tony's Chocolonely holiday calendar. I don't know if it's specifically advent calendar, but it's a 25-day calendar here. But yeah, the idea of opening these calendars and seeing what's inside the box, I can see how that's related to this. ST1791 says, I think you're onto something. I cruise Zillow and have zero interest or intent in buying or moving. Yeah, what is that? Why is it? But it's fun. It's fun to look at what's out there. Yeah, window shopping the game, says Garrett. That's essentially what it is. Luke says, oh, this is a little bit different from this topic. He says, last month I playtested 2 games. One was far along and I was testing some new cards. The other was only playtested a few times. It's weird how emotionally each game feels so different for me. I can definitely relate to that, Luke. The different playtesting games at different processes, at different times in the process can feel really different. Board Game Eric says, I would think any TCG like Magic or Pokemon would give you the same feeling when opening packs. And it does. Yeah, it does. That is a little similar to looking at new possible houses that are out there. It is a little similar to opening a new pack of cards. Valerie says, she bought her house in 2013, and yet still to this day, she looks at the MLS weekly to see what houses are priced at and she loves looking at the pictures. So that's 12 years later after Valerie bought the house. I think it's for me to know how much I think my house is worth, but also the thrill of dreaming what else I could own or what layout or upgrade I could do. I love my house and never want to leave, but it's fun to look at what's on the market. When I was in St. Louis, I looked at houses there too, just for fun. Yeah, Valerie, I completely relate to this. It's a little bit like, for me at least, it's a little bit like looking at the places in the world that I could go. Like on Instagram, looking at pictures of other countries, the places I could go, knowing that someday I hope to actually go there. But for now, just the fantasy of seeing where I could go or where I could live or a feature that I could have in my house. That is fun for me to do. I really enjoy that. Games These Games says, I know several people said looking at house ads, like you said, and also heard the same for secondhand car sales. Oh, interesting. The joy of browsing without buying. I like that. The joy of browsing without buying, even calling the sellers for more info and effort. The joy of that. Yeah, I totally relate to that. I didn't connect it to cars, but when I was looking for a car a few years ago, I watched a lot of, I wasn't browsing looking for used cars, but I was researching. The researching process was a lot of fun, thinking of what I could have in a car. In fact, I'm kind of doing that now. I'm not even really on the car market, but I like thinking about a car I could have someday, while also maybe enjoying the car that I currently have. Julie does the same thing. She says, I love house window shopping. It's fun to look at possibilities and figure out what you want. Yeah, I guess I'm learning a little bit about myself when I'm doing that. I'm learning about what I want or what I like that I already have too. The floor plan is the only game I can think of in that space, but it sounds different from what you might do. Yeah, I can think of there's floor plan and there's dream home. Dream home is maybe a little bit more similar, or dream house, dream home, about like kind of designing your perfect home, your ideal home. Castles of Magic Ludwig does it a little bit too. Like what rooms would you have if you had a castle? But it's a little bit different because in the Zillow process, I'm looking at a lot of different houses. And that is satisfying for me. Austin says the same thing. I love looking at potential new houses. The fantasizing aspect is very fun. It really is. It really is. Steven says, I've just started dabbling with the idea, but I wonder if the idea of a monthly Vantage challenges inspired by your other Stonemaier games piques curiosity for you. The idea of monthly Vantage challenges inspired by your other... Oh, I see, Steven. I see what you're saying. So instead of using movies as inspiration for some of the Vantage challenges, say, okay, here's the viticulture challenge. Create a vineyard in Vantage, or for side. I'm thinking of spoilers right away, but that's okay with the monthly challenges. I think it's for people who've gone deeper into Vantage. I like that idea a lot, Stephen. Stonemaier inspired Vantage monthly challenges. Garrett says, are you definitely staying in St. Louis or looking elsewhere too? I'm only looking in St. Louis. I think it would be, you're right that I could expand the search to other areas and get probably a similar feeling. But for me, part of it is not just looking at the house, but looking at the location within St. Louis. I'm not looking to move outside of St. Louis. And so I like looking at these different neighborhoods and imagining what it would be like to live there. What can I find that's within walking distance of these houses? That is fun for me to think about. Another comparison here from Drakat Yorn says, going to a high-end clothing store and trying on suits and shirts I can only dream of being able to buy. That's neat. Yeah, I haven't actually done that. Maybe online a little bit, but maybe not in person. But yeah, it is. I can see how that comparison works here. Here we go. Odd Willow says, I've been window shopping for a new storefront for the game shop. We own our building and will probably stay for several more years, but the thought of opening a second location in a different city is a possibility. It's funny buying a place and feeling like you're out of space right away. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Mark says he needs a new place to make space for his game collection here. Oh, and Jeff says that the decorum is the frustrating side of home designing. Yeah, I haven't played that, but I have heard that it's a game that tries to make fun out of that frustration. Thank you all for relating to this question of the day about the fun of, or how did someone say it? The joy of, I really like the way that one of you said this, the joy of browsing for fun. I can't find the exact comment now, but yeah, I really like, here we go. The joy of browsing without buying. There's something satisfying to that. No worries, Stefan. Yes, that is one of my questions of the day. That idea of, are there games that already capture that feeling, or what is the joyful aspect of looking at things that you know you're not going to buy right now, or not within like the near future, but you're still having fun browsing through them. I'll segue back over to the annual or the monthly newsletter. And let's take a quick look at the monthly survey. We don't have to talk about the questions in detail here unless you want to. But if you are subscribed to the Stonemaier Games newsletter, then you may have seen that there is a demographic survey for 2025. And I've asked in the survey that you answer for yourself, just you as an individual. And I will select for every 1,000 people that fill it out. And so far, we have a few thousand people that filled it out. I will select some winners to get a Stonemaier Web Store gift card that'll be good for all of 2026. For anything that we release in 2026, you can use that gift card. So yeah, I really dug deep into these questions this year. Some of them are similar to previous years, but I dug deep into what can I really learn from these questions, and hopefully get actionable information out of these questions. So I'll give you a little bit of insight into what I'm looking for here. So for example, when I ask where you live, that isn't just for fun. We ask this because we want to make sure we are sending the right quantities of new products to each of the regions that we serve, because we have 4 different fulfillment centers. So, and we're also always wondering, like, are we serving Asia in particular as best as we can? Because we don't have a fulfillment center in Asia. We have it in Australia, which leads to some higher shipping costs to Asia. So it is something that we think about for our products. Should we start considering, again, having a fulfillment center in Asia? Which of these do you use the most frequently as the best combination of convenience and helpfulness when deciding if you want to buy a tabletop game? So yeah, last year, I asked this question or something similar to this, and it opened me up to getting some sponsored playthroughs, because we had more people than I expected who use watching playthroughs to make buying decisions about purchase decisions about what games they want to buy. So this is a really helpful question for us to decide where do we send our games to content creators, and what type of content do we create for the games to be of the best service for you. I often ask a sleeving question, and how many of your games have you sleeved the cards? Almost all of them, almost none of them, or somewhere in between. And really for this one, I'm the most interested in the extremes. I included somewhere in between because it is a legitimate answer, of course, but I don't have much I can learn from that. But I am the most interested in the extremes for how many people are sleeving almost all their games versus people who are sleeving very few of them. That is a question that impacts how important do we design inserts and boxes around the idea of sleeved cards. This is one that I changed up this year a little bit. If you hear about a new game that you're really excited about, how long do you want to wait before paying and receiving it? And the obvious answer might be right away, but I don't think that's actually always true. If you look at your shelf of games, you might have plenty of games that you're excited to play in the next few weeks or months, and you may not need that new game right away. And so I kind of added a little phrasing to the questions to guide people a little bit here. So 1 week or left, I'm ready now. 1 month or less, I want to build my excitement for a game that I know is shipping soon. That's kind of the Stonemaier process. 6 to 8 months or less, I can wait, but the game should be ready to print. This is something where I think about crowdfunding. Do people care? And I do care in general. Do people care when they crowdfund a new game? Do they care if the game is actually ready to go to print? Or are they just like, okay, whenever it's ready, years from now, I'll take it, that sort of thing. I also am curious about where people went the most for buying games this year, and if there's a place. This is a new question. If it's different than this answer, is there a place that you are hoping to buy more games from in 2026 that's different from the main place that you bought games from in this year? So I'm curious to see the difference between where people are buying games and where people are hoping to maybe shift their buying to. Are you hoping to buy more directly from publishers? Are you hoping to buy less from crowdfunding, more to local stores, things like that? Some questions. Let's see if there's anything new here that I've added for this particular year. Nope. I think that's it for the newer questions. But yeah, it's a 12-question survey, and I really value your answer. So if you can take a few minutes to answer that survey, and you'll be entered in a drawing to do that. Devil Soldier says, where's there a link for this survey? It's in our newsletter. So if you didn't get the newsletter that I sent today, it will be in the description of this video once it goes up on YouTube, and it's also on the news page of our website. I've already archived it there, so you can just click on, if you go to the news page on our website and go down to the December 2025 newsletter, you can see it there. Let's see. Garrett says, were you able to get Dispatch working on the TV, or did it end up playing at your desk? I played at my desk. And actually, I didn't mind that, Garrett, because I did use my keyboard quite a bit. And it kind of felt like I had a second job for a few days. And that second job was dispatching superheroes to solve problems. And so I really felt very official being at my desk playing this dispatching mini game. So I didn't mind it as much. It wasn't something that I played along with Megan, but that's okay. Megan was doing other things at the time. LB Jeeper says, I think instead of how long do you want to wait, it should be willing. It could be, but I want to know how long you want to wait. I don't want to know how patient you are. I want to know if you hear about something really cool, does that mean that you want it right away? Or does that mean that that you want to think about it for a little while and get excited about it and then play it in a month or play it in 5 months? Because there are certainly products that I buy where I am just not ready to play them right away. I'm in the middle of playing some other games. But in general, for me, for example, I want a relatively short anticipation gap. Somewhere within a few weeks is my ideal sweet spot. But for example, I'll give another example, like the Mandalorian promo pack for Star Wars, the deck building game. I'm really excited about it. I will play it as soon as it arrives. However, I didn't need to order it from an online game store. I don't need to have it tomorrow. And so I ordered it from a local game store, my preferred local game store here that I often order from. And they said they'll get it to me in about a month. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And I'm actually fine with that because I get to be excited about it for a month. I get to think about how awesome it's going to be when I get to play it in about a month. Yeah, so want is the intended phrase in there, not willing. Chad says, I would like there to be an option for the sleeving question for only games that shuffle a lot, which is totally fair. That I would put in the category of like rarely, right? And how many games have you sleeved the cards? Almost none of them. I think that would be in that category because I think there are very few games where you are shuffling the games constantly throughout the game, mostly just deck building games. And also, I guess, some trick-taking games as well. HVJ17 says, the first thing I do with any new game within 24 hours is open it and get it ready to play. I learn it and I run through several rounds so I know how the turns work. Cool. Yeah. That's nice to get into the flow of a new game that way. Mark says that he would highly appreciate an Asian fulfillment center to save a bit on shipping, but there is a limited market for English copies because some countries prefer localized versions instead. I totally hear that, Mark, and I would love to find a solution for it, even if it isn't for all of our products, for maybe our new products. I think that is something that we might explore in the future if we can find a good partner that can sync well with Shopify. The problem is, or tricky thing is, that we have an entirely different Shopify web store for each fulfillment center. And it is not cheap to maintain them. It is not cheap to create them. And just the Shopify fees alone are quite high. And so I honestly don't know if there is enough of a market for us in Asia, based on what we know so far, that would result in us even breaking even on that investment. It's a fairly large investment for us to do. So it's a tough sell right now for us to consider. But we are still thinking about it. We do actively think about it, and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, here's an interesting answer from Stefan about a new game that comes out. And actually, I'm a little similar to this too. When a new game comes out, that a lot of people are excited about, I'm happy to get excited about it too, but I kind of want to build that excitement. I want to layer all that excitement, or I need to often before I actually buy it. So he says, I tend not to buy a game when it comes out. The more hype, the more time I want to wait, even a couple of years. I guess I'm not dissuaded by other people being excited by something that often I find that contagious. I like getting excited about things, and I like seeing other people get excited about things. But I often need more than one like really excited review or one excited post for me to also get really excited about a game. I need a few of those before I'm really ready to actually buy the game or put it on my list of games to try at a convention. Let's see. Board Game Eric says, when I hear about a new game, I typically want it right away, but crowdfunding games has made me more patient through the years. That's true. Yeah, I kind of like a balance between the two. There are certainly games and products that I hear about and I want to have right away. There's some that I want in the near future. And there's some games on crowdfunding, and I do crowdfund games. I back games where I back it and I kind of forget about it. And whenever it shows up, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it showing up and getting the game that way without really thinking about it all that much. I think that isn't ideal for excitement. Like if something takes so long that I've forgotten that I ever even backed it, then the excitement is completely gone by the time it arrives. And it's really tough, I think, to build that excitement back up. Every now and then it happens. If a game like really breaks through and a lot of people are really excited about it upon that delivery, but I think that's pretty rare. Darren says, I think on buying games, on the buying games front, a lot of people are limited in their options, particularly not having to store locally and have to use online shops or crowdfunding or the publisher's website. There's lots of ways to buy games online that aren't just online retailers. I personally use online stores that I know have a brick and mortar presence. However, I do not like store-only promos. I get why, but it means it excludes a lot without having that option. Yeah, I understand why retailers love them, but I think my opinion. I don't love anything that's exclusive. That where you say upfront, the only way that you can get this thing is at this specific convention or from this specific web store or this specific crowdfunding project or this specific retailer, because it excludes everyone else who isn't there. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. Papa Patcher says, my birthday is in June, so I wait 6 months for maximum for games that I want. It's either a birthday present or a Christmas present. That's a neat way to space it out throughout the year, very specifically. Jeff says, have I posted my Geekway mini list? Jeff, I will do that. I've been looking for a blog post to post this week, so I'll post my Geekway mini list on my personal blog either today or tomorrow. I'll think about that. Yeah, Geekway Mini is coming up in January. Hopefully, we'll have a little better weather then, Jeff, so that we don't have any issues getting out there to play the games. But I'm looking forward to it. The Devil's Treasure is relating to the comment I said about crowdfunding. That one of my favorite things is to forget that you backed a game, and it's like a surprise gift from your past self. And I love that too. It's just sometimes excited for me to remember why. It's difficult for me to remember why I was excited about it at the time when I backed it. I have to kind of refresh myself on why I was excited. And it's one of the reasons why I think it is really important if you're crowdfunding a game, when you do start to deliver that game, I think that is a really, really important time to create content about the game, to send it out to content creators, to review it and make playthroughs and things like that, because people need to get geared back up into that excitement. Both the backers and people who haven't heard of it before and might be interested in buying it now that it's available for release. Board Game Eric says, I appreciate how Stonemaier Games releases new games. When you guys announce it, I know that I don't have to wait long before it becomes available. I appreciate that, Eric. I'm glad you like it. That is the model that I prefer, that we're able to make something that we think that you'll love, and we have it ready to send to you at that time. When we do the full reveal, it means that you can get excited about it, and then a few weeks later, when you are still excited about it, hopefully, that you can actually get it to your table. Aaron says that he has a great deal of patience. I understand how tumultuous the process of producing a board game is. Totally get that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty that goes into making a board game. That is why, though, Aaron, in my opinion, that you can remove a lot of that uncertainty by having the game ready to go when you put it on Kickstarter or crowdfunding or GameFound or wherever, rather than saying, "Hey, I've made the first few elements of this game. It looks good. I can make something that looks good that has a few core mechanisms that's playable, that's fun and functional. But I still have a lot of work to do after this." I think that adds a lot of uncertainty to the process that I have compassion for, and empathy for. But I'm kind of baffled that you wouldn't do that work up front. I think that is a better way to serve your customers, the people that you've asked money for, in my opinion. Yeah, that's my take on it. Hilda says, I'm super thankful for all the content creators that take the time to create really great overviews or how to play videos on new games. It helps me not to impulse buy every new game that I'm excited about. And it really helps me decide what may be a good fit for our game tastes. And Hilda, I think that sums it up perfectly. That's why I send so many of our games to content creators. I want people to be able to either really get excited about a game and then buy it, or realize before buying a game, one of our games, that it's not for them. I don't want someone to spend money on a game that isn't for them. And that's what content creators are really, really good at helping people decipher. Colonel Kurt says, have you watched the documentary Igniting the Spark, the story of Magic the Gathering? I think it's recommended watching for any gamer or game designer. Do you watch many game or game design documentaries? I don't. I haven't, but I'm very curious about this. Igniting the Spark. Let's see if I can find it. Igniting the Spark, the story of Magic the Gathering. Where can I find this? Well, I have a search up for it. I will search. Oh, it's on Prime. Okay, it's on Amazon Prime. Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. What year did it come out? Oh, the first episode date was August 5th, 2025. So it's fairly recent. That's really cool. Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that recommendation. I will definitely check that out. All right, Jeff, enjoy your chicken sandwich, or fake chicken, vegan chicken. Dustin says, after buying the game shortly after Gen Con, my son and I finally played Vantage this weekend for the first time. Oh, thank you so much for giving it a try. Dustin says, it's unlike anything else we've ever played, and we love it. I know it was stated that it was 100% standalone, but given its success, are there early plans for expansions or sequels in the future? Definitely not expansions, Dustin. That is, I put everything into this game, and it's so interconnected within this planet, this web of everything, interconnection in this planet, that I don't think expansions are even possible. But I kind of put it out there up front saying there's no expansions. Everything that I think you will want to do in Vantage is there in Vantage for you to do. I am open to, I really like the action system in Vantage, and I also like the first person perspective. So it's something that I might explore in the future. But after spending 8 years working on it, I'm just kind of enjoying people having hopefully a good first experience like the one that you did, and people hopefully playing it for the second time and the 10th time, and maybe even the 20th time if you go deep into it. So yeah, thanks for playing it. Damon J says, another Eric agreeing with the other Eric. I love buying my Stonemaier games, and after I receive it, I can get to it when I want. You guys do great getting the games out in a timely manner. Thank you. Yeah, I do think there is a certain type of customer service that comes from saying, okay, you spent money on something, we're going to get it to you in the next few weeks at most. There's an immediate payoff happening there. Let's see. Omar, hey, good to see you, Omar. To add to the previous statement, I love that you have put the work into the game prior to the hype before release. Each release matters to your company reputation and the care and pride show. Thank you, Omar, for saying that. We do put a lot of work into our games up front so that you can just hopefully enjoy them when we release them. And it doesn't mean our games are always going to be perfect. In fact, I don't think any game ever released has ever been 100% perfect upon release, but we do try really hard to do that. Or at least try really hard for you to have a good first experience with the game and a good second experience in 5th and 10th. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Robert says, has the decision been made on a second print run of the World of Wingspan t-shirt for those Wormspan players who missed out on buying one? You're right that Wormspan does appear on the shirt. Robert, I think, well, currently we haven't made the decision on it yet because I think some sizes are still in stock in various web stores. But after this live cast, I will take a look to see what our inventory levels look like for the shirt. Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I haven't looked at those inventory levels in a little while. Chad says they are making a lot of different IP versions of Magic the Gathering, like Avatar, Marvel. I think they're, Final Fantasy. What IP would you like to see in the game? And I played the Lord of the Rings one. I played that one, enjoyed that one. Honestly, there are a lot. I would love to see Red Rising appear in there. I think that would be huge for Red Rising. I wouldn't mind seeing Star Wars. I know it's not going to ever happen because Star Wars has their own collectible card game, but it would be neat to see. There are probably other answers to that question, Chad. What is your answer? Do you have an IP that you'd love to see in Magic the Gathering form? I do think it's neat. Like, even though I don't play many of those sets at all, but I think it's neat to see how flexible the Magic the Gathering system is, and how I love reading design diary entries about how they took that system and applied it to specific world building elements in these intellectual properties. I am fascinated by that, and I would love to have a system like that at Stonemaier Games that is so flexible that we can apply it to a bunch of different things. I guess we do have it for Rolling Realms. Rolling Realms, can apply to so many different games. So I guess we do have it in one way. We have it. But I really admire that about Magic. Chad mentions Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if they haven't already. I think they have, or they have that coming next year. I'm 99% sure there is a Magic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles release date. Let's see. It is coming on March 6th. And that, I think, will be a lot of fun. I'm curious, very curious. Well, I've seen a few posts about what they're doing with that, but I'm curious to see it in detail later, or in a few months, I guess. It's coming up soon. Yeah, I think we've covered the topics for today. Let's see if there's anything else in the newsletter that I didn't cover that we might want to look at for a minute. We talked about the annual survey. Please fill it out if you want to help guide Stonemaier Games for 2026 and the future. We have the teaser answers for all the stuff that we released in 2025. And we have links to our latest newsletters. I need to put out one for viticulture. I just have a list for viticulture, but I don't actually have a newsletter for it. We have our normal progress chart, a bunch of code names. I updated this a little bit, but I didn't add anything new to the progress chart this month. And then games that I've been playing recently. I didn't even add to it for the game day. I should have added to that from this past Sunday. But other games that I haven't already mentioned, I played Duel for Cardia recently. Really enjoyed that. Dune Imperium Uprising, Plant the Nubo, Rumble Nation, and Inside Job. Those were the two games that I played on Board Game Arena the other day. And I think that's it for the newsletter stuff. Treat of the day, Helen. Yeah, we have a Tony's Chocolonely December calendar, like an advent calendar type thing. And we've been opening that up every day, Megan and I, and either splitting or deciding which of us gets the chocolate there. Robert says, my Wormspan size 5XL, please, for the Australia, New Zealand store. Okay, yeah, thank you for letting me know that that's the one. We'll see if we can restock that specifically, if that is a size that we make from another web store. Thanks for the heads up about that, Robert. Red Sash says, have you ever been excited to try a game, but after finding out what it is about, you get uninterested in playing it? I heard good things about the Bloody End, but lost interest after discovering the theme. It certainly does have a dark theme, a very dark theme for a game. That's a question. I think when I hear about a game, usually I am aware of the theme. I think when I first hear about it, I would say one of my turnoffs, I would say, and there are exceptions to this, but every now and then I hear about a game that sounds really awesome that people recommend, and then I learn how structured it is. And sometimes a game being too structured and saying like, okay, here's phase 1, we're all doing this. Here's phase 2, we're all doing this. If it's broken down into too many phases where all players are doing something in that phase, it can be a pretty big turnoff for me, because I think I really like games that flow well from one turn to the next. So I would say more than theme, I would say that is one of the things that I can discover about a game where my excitement can immediately go way down. Julian says, does Rolling Realms only include Stonemaier intellectual property? If not, what IP would you like to see covered in Rolling Realms? No, it actually covers a bunch of different games. So even here, here's a bunch of the promos from it. Crusaders, not a Stonemaier game. Spaceships, not a Stonemaier game. What was this one? Legacy of You, not a Stonemaier game. Role play, yeah. So I would say the majority of the realms in Rolling Realms the Rolling Realms Redux is all non-Stonemaier stuff. Most of the promos are non-Stonemaier. And then the core original game box of Rolling Realms, that is all Stonemaier stuff. At this point, I think we have so many different. So here's like my stack. Here's all of the different realms in Rolling Realms. It is so big. It's almost like 70 different realms at this point that we've stopped adding realms based on non-Stonemaier games. But there are a lot of them out there. So if you check out our website, you can probably pick out a few of your favorite games and you can see them distilled down into realm form in Rolling Realms. Yeah. Wargame Eric says, what did you think of Thiefdom? I have to play my copy soon. So one of the things that surprised me about it, I did not realize it was a pick up and deliver game, which is a genre of games that I usually don't get excited about. But Thiefdom does some things with it that are pretty cool, where some of the pick up and deliver is that you are stealing things from places and you are delivering them to other places. And some of those places are static on the board. You're going to those places, you're stealing something, and then you're delivering it to another place. That is fine. That's kind of, I would say, somewhat standard pick up and deliver. The thing that's unique about it that I really did like is that some of the places that you're stealing from aren't places, but they are people. They're meeples that are moving around the board that you're manipulating around the board. So there's like a guard or guards that you're moving around the board. And if you sidle up next to them, as long as you don't get right in front of them so they can see you, if you go up next to them, you can steal from them. You can do the same with nobles. And you can also do the same with a carriage that moves around the board. So I really like that some of the places that you're picking up from are actively moving around the board, and you are the one moving them. You and the other players are the ones moving them. So I thought that was pretty cool. Viking Kittens is also enjoying Thiefdom. It feels like sneaking the board game. Yeah, there's a lot of sneaking around in Thiefdom. Wendy mentions that she couldn't get past the whaling theme in New Bedford. I can totally hear that, Wendy. Yeah. And Luke, for him, is the graphic design can turn him away from a game. Yeah, that is often maybe the biggest turnoff when I go to a crowdfunding campaign. If the graphic design, both for the game and or the project page itself, isn't clear, isn't well done, that could be an instant turnoff for me. All right. Thank you all for hanging out today, as always, for Newsletter Day. Oh, I have one more question. We'll answer one more question here from Papa Pat. So you've done almost 1,000 My Favorite Mechanism videos, maybe even more than that at this point. I think I recently eclipsed 1,000 posts about my favorite design mechanisms on Board Game Geek. Do you plan on doing a special one for episode 1,000? Honestly, no, I don't have a plan for that because I think I've already passed it. Maybe not as it's registered on YouTube, but let me look at Board Game Geek. On Board Game Geek, my blog entries, which is where I post these, I have 1,050 posts. So I crossed over that number a few months ago. So no, I don't have any plans for anything special, but I do have plans in the near future to look at my favorite mechanisms from the second half of 2025. And so that'll be a video in the near future. Oh, a few more questions here. Let's see. Chad says, were you able to catch up on Stranger Things? We're halfway through 4, getting ready for 5. I didn't watch anything from the past. I just jumped right into 5, and we've watched all of the episodes available for season 5 so far. Mystery Game says, you have a great kids family product in My Little Scythe. Do you have any plans to make accessible versions of other games like Wingspan? We actually did for Wingspan. Finspan is our more accessible version of Wingspan. I would say in general, I'm always keeping accessibility in mind. I don't have a big desire to pursue like My Little type games in general, other than My Little Scythe, but it is something I think about all the time for our games. And so I thought about it a lot for Finspan, in particular, being an icon-driven game. Even for Vantage, I would say it's accessible to a lot of different people. But yeah, it is something that I think about it for all of our games, not just like that specific genre of My First or My Little games. Anyway, yeah, thank you all for hanging out today. I adore your questions. I adore your answers, and I adore you. And I hope you have a great day. I will see you maybe on tomorrow's blog post. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I will find something to talk about. And then next Monday, probably, I will talk about the results to the demographic survey. All right. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.